Greetings, Scary Stories fans. This is author Kevin Folliard, and I'm going to be reading a story from my compilation Valentine Terror Tales. The Black Widow. There once was a beautiful murderess, tall and thin, with silky black hair, smooth pale skin, and long delicate fingers. Her blood-red lips and frosted blue eyes drove men wild. She knew this well. The woman loved expensive things, and she would attract only the wealthiest men to bathe her in luxury. Every few years she would marry one of these men, poison him in his sleep, inherit all his money, and leave town before anyone suspected a thing. She would change her name and search for her next victim someplace new. The police could never keep up with her, but they began to call her the Black Widow. The Black Widow had a type. Naturally, she loved rich men. But even more so, she loved handsome rich men. Young aristocrats with dark features like hers, perfect smiles, and strong, chiseled jaws. Every time she came to a new town, she threw an extravagant party and invited all the affluent, eligible bachelors in the area. On one such occasion, a much younger, rugged, dark-haired gentleman in a black tux captured her eye. She introduced herself. He smiled and took her hand. "I'm Dr. Drayton. A pleasure to meet you." "Doctor?" The Black Widow rubbed her velvet glove along his shoulder. "What kind of doctor? Brain surgeon?" "Oh, I'm not a medical doctor," he smiled. "I'm a scientist." "Oh." The Black Widow sipped her wine and scanned the room for richer prospects. "I enjoy my line of work," he said. "It's not glamorous, but a big paycheck isn't everything." "How nice for you." She prepared to excuse herself. "Then again, it helps to have an inheritance," Dr. Drayton shrugged. "It lets me pursue what I'm passionate about." The widow smiled. "We should all follow our passions. I'm sure your parents would want you to treat yourself well with their assets." Dr. Drayton laughed. "I just live comfortably and invest the rest. Even if I tried, I'm not sure how I could begin to spend that much money." The widow ran her finger down his chest and giggled. "I'll bet I could come up with some ideas." The widow spent the remainder of the night charming Dr. Drayton by spinning lies about the many interests they supposedly shared. By midnight, he was positively smitten. Dr. Drayton and the widow quickly became an item, and the young man grew head over heels intoxicated by her charm and beauty. The Black Widow was delighted. Yet there was something she couldn't quite put her finger on. Somehow this man allured her more than the usual victims of her dangerous web. The masculine quality of his voice and his deep, dark eyes made her feel quite content. Dr. Drayton's youthful exuberance, his zest for his hobbies and profession, his sheer, good-natured, confident attitude, combined with his top physique, made him the perfect male specimen. Something about that combination made her feel just slightly giddy, almost as if she actually loved him. Almost. If she had still believed in such a thing as a soulmate, surely this one would have been it. A shame she would soon have to dispose of him and begin things anew. The day came when Dr. Drayton asked her to a romantic dinner at his estate. She had done this dance many times and was positive that soon she would be engaged to her next victim. After dinner, like clockwork, Dr. Drayton got down on one knee and produced a small, gray box. "We've only known one another for a short while, but you're everything I've ever wanted in a woman. I want to be together. Forever." He opened the box to reveal a sparkling engagement ring. "Will you marry me?" The Black Widow smiled deviously as she reached for the ring. "Oh, my love, my darling!" It was the biggest, most opulent diamond she had ever received. "Of course I will." Perhaps, she thought in some small, fleeting way, perhaps she would be better off keeping a low profile as Dr. Drayton's wife for the remainder of her life. Together they would have all the money she could ever want, and he did give her that strange, exciting, but familiar feeling she couldn't quite put her finger on. Besides, if she grew bored, she could dispose of him as easily as the others. As she plucked the ring from the box, a bulbous black spider crawled out from under it and dug its fangs into her finger. She shrieked and dropped the ring. She clutched the wound and bit her tongue from the intense pain. Dr. Drayton smiled. "Oh, how terribly tragic." He bent over and scooped the little Black Widow spider into a jar. "One of the specimens from my lab must have stowed away with your ring." The pain grew and grew. The room spun out of control. The Black Widow reached desperately for her new fiancé. When she gazed upon him with hazy, feverish visions, something finally clicked. She was staring into the dark, ghostly eyes of her very first husband. "I've decided to rescind my generous offer, dear sister-in-law," Dr. Drayton remarked. It would be terribly improper of me to take the wife of my poor departed brother, let alone the wife who killed him when I was just a boy." He held the jar up to her eyes and showed her the bright red hourglass mark on the spider's underside. "Her venom is quite potent, but being a black widow yourself, perhaps you're immune." Try as she might, the widow could no longer speak. Her skin crept, stomach tightened. She struggled for air, convulsed on the floor, then blacked out for good. Valentine Terror Tales, Scary Stories of Dark Romance is on sale now through Amazon.com in both paperback and Kindle. More info at kevinfolliard.com. Thanks for listening.